Hi and welcome everyone. Today I'm making a super easy page in my 6x6 watercolor journal, and I want to work with the Stabilo Woodys today and just create a quick and easy page which is perfect when you have not much time, or maybe you are a beginner and just want to try out a little bit of art journaling. I'm starting my page by adhering some collage papers. I just use pages from old books and I stick them down with a glue stick. The glue stick I'm using is from Tombow and it's my absolute favorite glue stick. I had never a piece coming off, and it's not so you don't get much glue on the back side, so it doesn't wrinkle the paper. And it also doesn't dry so fast, so you have time to make corrections, and it also doesn't dry out when you leave the cap open. On one of the papers I already have a painting of a loose watercolor flower. I just have a bunch of them laying around and I just use it to add some color to the background. When I have such collage papers or leftover pieces, I always put a bunch of them together and then use a stapler to make little booklets, so I don't have laying tons of loose papers around. To blend the background together and also to prime the page for the Stabilo Woodys that I want to use, I am adding in some gesso, and I use a heavy gesso. And I just blend the areas in there where is no collage paper, and I don't want to cover up the whole background, just in some areas. Before you start playing with the Stabilo Woodys, you have to make sure that your background is completely dry. I have to say that I didn't wait long enough, so when I wet everything and want to blend the woodies, some of the gesso re-wets and mixes in. This gives me a really nice and interesting texture, but it makes it really hard to work and not to ruin the page, so you should wait until it is dry, or dry it really good with your heat tool. And whenever you use a heat tool that is normally meant for embossing, you have to be very careful when you dry gesso or collage papers or acrylic paints, because they can start to warp and bubble. I'm playing with the woodies and I decided I want to use greens and red and orange on my page because I really like that combination. I think it's super fresh. Although I went in with the heat tool again, the thick layer of gesso was not 100% dry, and you maybe can see it on camera that some of it comes off. It creates a really, I would say, a grungy kind of texture, which is really nice, but as I said, it's hard to work with it. Of course, if you don't have Stabilo Woodys, you can also use any kind of water-soluble crayon. For example, the Neocolors would work perfectly, or the Dino Wiggly scribble sticks, or the Gelatos or distress crayons. You can do the same background technique with each of them. This time my page is really dry, and I go in with a water-soluble pencil. It's just the black one from the Faber-Castell Magnus series. It's one of my favorite products because if you wet the tip of the pencil, the color or the pigments release immediately and very intense, and I love this one to make marks on my pages. And that's what I'm doing here. I just randomly make some marks to create some texture and interest and also contrast. I also use a red one from the Derwent Ink 10 series. They also work really good for mark making and when you use them wet. If you dip your watercolor pencils into water, make sure not to dive in too deep because you don't want to ruin the wood of your pencil. I keep on making some marks with different colors that match my whole page. As always, I have linked up my blog post in the video description where you can see some close-up images of the finished spread. I let this dry and then I go in with some stamping and I just want to create some flourish texture on the background. And here I'm using stamps from my Doodle Borders stamp sets. And I'm just working with the black archival ink. I think this matches perfect my black marks and makes everything look more cohesive. I also used some green ink to stamp more leaves on the top of the page. I picked that butterfly from our Butterfly Trio stamp set. I have this already colored in with watercolors because it was ready to go in my stash and I think the colors are matching the background really good. And I want to add some glitter to the butterfly and therefore I'm using the Rembrandt. I can't remember the name of the color, but it's a really gorgeous glittery paint. It's hard to see this on camera, but I will try to turn my page so that you can see how shimmery it is. I want to add some black splatters, and therefore I also use the Woodys in black. Just scribble it to my glass plate and pick it up with some water and make some splatters. I try to protect the butterfly. And that was my page for today, and here you can see the finished spread. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and I hope you will see us next time. Bye!